The storyline involving Phyllis Summers, Victor Newman, and Kane Ashby is slowly evolving into the type of emotional and moral crossroads that Phyllis always finds herself trapped in. It begins quietly, almost innocently, with Phyllis agreeing to a secret deal with Victor. The terms benefit her, but the strings attached are heavy. Victor always demands results, loyalty, and the ability to pull those strings whenever he wants. For Phyllis, the arrangement is tempting because it gives her power, leverage, and a way to stay ahead of the people who constantly underestimate her. She tells herself that this deal is nothing more than strategy, a smart business move, a way to protect herself and, in typical Phyllis fashion, strike first before someone else strikes her. Yet the more she works with Victor, the more she realizes that she is stepping into dangerous territory. The strongest woman in Genoa City can still get cornered the moment she becomes useful to Victor Newman. But everything starts to shift the moment Kane Ashby appears back in her orbit. At first, their interaction is light, edgy, filled with that familiar vibration that always surrounds Phyllis when she feels someone looking at her without judgment or resentment. Kane becomes a distraction, then an intrigue, and then something more emotionally charged. The attraction between them grows slowly but unmistakably. She doesn't expect to feel anything, not when she's still trying to outrun the consequences of her decision-making, not when she is pretending to the world that she is focused and fully in control. Yet Kane sees her in a way that catches her off guard. His empathy taps into a softer part of her that she rarely lets anyone get close to, and the chemistry between them becomes the one thing she cannot deny. This is where the complication begins. The deal with Victor requires Phyllis to stay sharp, unclouded, and fully committed. Victor expects her to be loyal only to the plan, to carry out tasks without hesitation, and to avoid forming emotional ties that could compromise her usefulness. But Kane is slowly turning into the exact kind of emotional tie she wasn't supposed to develop. It happens in small moments, a conversation that feels too intimate, a glance that lingers, a moment of shared vulnerability, the kind of spark that only grows stronger the more she tries to ignore it. As the attraction deepens, Phyllis begins to realize that her involvement with Kane could put her entire arrangement with Victor at risk. Victor hates unpredictability, and nothing is more unpredictable than Phyllis when she begins to feel something real. The struggle inside her becomes almost visible. She knows that Victor Newman does not like divided loyalties, especially when he has invested time, power, and resources in someone. If Phyllis begins leaning toward Kane, emotionally or romantically, she risks losing Victor's trust entirely. And losing Victor's trust is not a small matter. He could expose her, retaliate against her, or use her secret deal to destroy her credibility in Genoa City. He holds the kind of leverage that could corner her professionally and personally. But despite knowing this, Phyllis can't stop the magnetic pull she feels when Kane looks at her. If her feelings deepen, it becomes almost inevitable that she will reach a breaking point where she cannot maintain both her secret agreement with Victor and her connection with Kane. Victor does not tolerate distractions, and Kane would never approve of her working in secret with a man like Victor, especially if the arrangement involves manipulation or sabotage. Phyllis will have to choose, her own survival through Victor's power, or a risky emotional path with Kane that could expose everything she's been hiding. The storyline is clearly building toward a moment where Phyllis will have to face her deepest fear, choosing vulnerability over control. Falling for Kane means risking the carefully constructed walls she's built. Staying loyal to Victor means sacrificing any chance at emotional connection. And Phyllis Summers, for all her bravado, hates losing control more than anything. So yes, if she truly falls for Kane, there's a very real chance she will try to pull back from her deal with Victor. But breaking away from Victor Newman comes at a cost that she may not be ready to pay. This is the kind of emotional collision that could send Phyllis spiraling into a dangerous mix of passion, fear, and self-sabotage, just as it always does when she finds herself caught between desire and survival.